Hi everybody, it's Andy and welcome again to my office in Modesto, California. I'm an attorney licensed to practice law in California as well as New York. In this video, I'm going to go over a concept in the law called a status-only divorce. I'm going to talk specifically about California, but if you are outside of California, this concept of a status-only divorce most likely exists in your state as well. I don't know which state you're watching me from, and I also haven't checked every state. So there is no way for me to tell you right now, for example, that for like Texas, definitely has status-only divorce. West Virginia definitely doesn't. Alaska does, but only under certain situations, and so on and so on. So you are going to need to check for your particular state whether or not status-only divorce is a possibility for you. But a lot of times, what I found at least, is that people in California don't even know that status-only divorce is a thing. Like they're not even aware of the term. So if your case is stuck, for example, in a place, hopefully status-only divorce is an option for you that maybe you didn't know about before. So that said, a status-only divorce basically takes a traditional divorce and kind of flips it over. So a traditional divorce basically, is a very linear thing, I guess. Step number one, the case is filed. Step number two, the case is served. And then the parties kind of delve into the nitty-gritty about who gets the house, who gets the debt, who does this, was this property something that I had before, or did we buy it together? If there are children, who should the children live with? If there's a claim for child support, who should pay it, how long, how much? If there's spousal support, who should pay it, how much support should be paid, and so on and so on. So the traditional linear process basically involves answering or dealing with all of those questions first, and then if there's an agreement reached on some things, but maybe there's a disagreement on some other kind of questions, maybe the court needs to get involved, and all of that stuff needs to happen. And then the divorce is basically granted way at the end. So the divorce judgment is what most people are kind of concerned about. Unfortunately, in a traditional divorce, you got to go through all the kind of intermediate steps, answering all those questions before the divorce is finally granted. As you can probably imagine, perhaps this is your case, answering all of those questions, doing all those intermediate steps can take a long time. Several years, unfortunately, is not uncommon. So in certain situations, I wouldn't say it's the majority, but in certain situations, during the course of those several years, an external factor will pop up that motivates either one or both of the parties to want to get legally divorced right away. For example, let's say that husband and wife are going through a divorce, wife meets somebody new, husband meets somebody new, and they both want to get married to their new partners right now. If they are still married, if the husband and wife are still married to one another, however, they can't do that because otherwise it'd be bigamous. So a status-only divorce basically allows the couple, the husband and wife in my example, to be legally divorced, in other words, legally single again, and therefore free to get married again, without actually resolving all of the questions. So for example, they don't have to decide who gets the house or who gets the debt. They can be divorced right now, in name only, I guess, and be legally single. They can get married again, and then kind of reserve or kind of deal with all the other questions about children, debt, assets. They deal with all that stuff later. So a traditional divorce, you deal with all the questions first. The divorce judgment is way at the end. In a status-only divorce, that process, I guess, is kind of turned upside down. You get divorced at the very beginning in name only. So if you want to get married again, you can. But all the other questions about children, assets, debts, all that stuff is basically pushed down the road and dealt with at a later time. The divorce, however, that is granted in a status-only situation does not include all of those questions because they have not been answered yet. So it is somewhat more limited, I guess. You do sacrifice a little bit by wanting to get divorced right now. But it is something that I think does apply in a lot of situations. For example, if one or both of the parties want to get married again. Other situations in which I've seen a status-only divorce be a kind of beneficial thing, for whatever reason, based on a particular situation, there might be tax benefits or there might be like medical insurance benefits for a couple if they got divorced, in name only, legally divorced right now. So, tax benefits, maybe, one party saves a bunch of money. For insurance reasons, maybe one person can qualify for insurance as a single person, but not as a married person. So in that particular case, it's beneficial for this person over here to be legally single and qualify for the insurance, but kind of resolve all the questions about child support, alimony, asset division, resolve all that stuff later, get divorced right now so they can reap the benefit of whatever medical insurance they're trying to get. So that is the concept of a status-only divorce. You get divorced in name only, hopefully right away, and you leave all the other kind of nitty-gritty details about children, about like alimony, about asset division. You leave all that stuff for later, but you get divorced right now because, for example, you want to get married again because you have like a really big tax benefit of some kind, because you have an insurance benefit of some kind. Those benefits, on occasion, will kind of make it worthwhile to get divorced now, leave all the other stuff for later. So that's the concept of a status-only divorce. I don't see it very often in California, but it is something I think that could be more beneficial. I think probably more people don't ask for it because they don't know. So again, if you were in a different state, hopefully that kind of like the general idea of getting divorced in name only right now, leaving all the other stuff for later. Hopefully your state has a similar kind of process, and hopefully that process is something that will help your situation kind of, I guess, get your case going again if you happen to be stuck. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing. I tried to make that as simple as I could. But if it was confusing, go ahead and rewatch this video and rewind it if you want, leave me a comment if you want, and click subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks.